The vacancy is out now. Some of the A320 pilots have moved to the wide body. The ones who are on wide body, some of them have retired. So there is a vacancy, and there is a mass vacancy that has come. Some of
Is
them
it mass
have
vacancy? How many openings are there?
Hello everyone, welcome to India's #1 pilot podcast, where pilots share their experiences regarding the aviation as well as for your pilot training. And here we have Winged Engineer and Nilay, and we are going to talk about the latest scenario in aviation, as well as we are going to talk about type rating and whether you should do it or not, and on which aircraft, as well as what is the simulator, and we will be discussing all of it here.
Yep. Type rating, right? So actually what really made us think about it was you had your IRPPC and all of that, right?
Yes.
So you just flew the sims, the simulators or the sims. So, yep. How was it?
Yeah, sim went well. Sim was good. So it can never happen that you don't make a single mistake in a simulator.
Right.
Okay. Every human being is there, and there are human errors when you are put under so much pressure and so many failures there. It is possible that one or minor mistake could happen. Okay, as long as it doesn't breach the safety standards, and you are not really going to the point where it is absolutely unacceptable to make that mistake, then it is taken in a positive way. And if in case there is any kind of a mistake, and whenever you do that, you learn from it.
Correct.
That yes, this is something.
But before that, basically, what's the purpose of this IR and PPC? And because the point is, you fly regularly.
Correct.
Ideally, and we wish that every flight is an uneventful flight, right?
Yes, of course.
But then routinely flying an uneventful flight,
correct,
the procedures to overcome an emergency, to basically handle an emergency and continue with the safe conduct of a flight, basically you do the IRPPC, right?
So basically on a regular daily basis, in majority of the cases, we do not face a lot of failures, as well as we do not face a lot of kind of emergency situations. But one or times if it happens, then it shouldn't happen and occur to you as a startle effect, that okay, I had never expected this, I don't know how you should go about it, even though it is written in the manual. But unless and until you really go through it and you actually experience it and know how you would be able to handle them, it becomes challenging to do it when you actually face it. So if you would have done it before, let's say if it is a wind shear, now monsoon is approaching, pre-monsoon is gone. Like in the previous podcast, we discussed about how the aircrafts are still getting the wind shear warnings because of the bad weather approaching. So if that happens to you in the actual aircraft and you have absolutely no idea how it actually feels like, then
Did you do wind shear emergency in this IRPPC?
That is a very routine exercise. So there are certain memory items, it is called as. And like for example, emergency descent, if there is a pressurization failure and oxygen masks are deployed. So what you are supposed to do in that case. Then apart from that, wind shear, then the memory items, like if in case there is speed discrepancy between the two, unreliable speed. So there are different memory items for every aircraft, though Boeing has a lot of them, like about 18 of them.
18.
Yeah. And
that's pretty much to remember on
18 memory items, right?
Like for Cessna, we had I think 5 to 6. Like we need to know by heart.
Correct.
And whenever there's an engine failure or some simulated engine failure, we used to do that.
So, and we have about half of them.
So basically, enlighten me about it. Okay. So we just did FACPL. Now we'll be going to Canada for RTR. And
Correct.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But then we get Indian CPL. Then we go for type rating.
Correct.
Right? So when we go for that type rating, what we are trained for all of this, correct?
Yes. So
for the first time.
In the type rating, first of all, you will have a ground class where you will be learning all the systems.
Okay.
Because you can't go directly to the simulator and have no clue about each switch that is there in the cockpit. Okay, because there are many of them. You need to first know what are those switches. Okay, and what are those push buttons. So once you know the theory, first you learn it of every system. Thereafter you undergo the ground test at the exam. After that you will be trained on a simulator which is fixed base. So in simulators also there are types, like there is a fixed base wherein you just learn the procedures. Okay, that is not something which is a motion simulator. Okay, it's just.
So what kinds of simulators there are, like, because we used to have what FTDs and AATDs, right? So AATD is what
approved and authorized training device.
Yeah, and FTD is flight training device. Right?
Okay.
So those were the two that we used to have for Cessnas and the Diamond. So what kind of simulators are there?
So here it is called as a fixed base simulator, which is APT in the Airbus procedure trainer. Okay, which has the controls, which has the displays. But you can sit on a chair like this, and then you can do the procedures.
Basically, it's like cockpit familiarization, and you learn the cockpit flows and stuff.
And then the overhead panel is like that of a screen on which there will be the touch panels. Okay, so that is for you to get used to the normal procedures.
Correct.
Like for example, when you will start, then initially you will learn normal procedures. First, it would take maybe 30 to 45 minutes to first do only the cockpit preparation.
Correct.
You know, because initially you are learning.
Yes.
So this is after the ground class of certain weeks. How many weeks is usually the ground?
Approximately it is there for 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
3 to 4 weeks.
Of ground class. Yeah. After that, then you will be doing the certain sessions of simulator, like approximately 8 to 9 sessions.
So this is the
9 sessions
APT.
on the APT.
Okay.
On the Airbus procedure trainer.
Okay.
Once you do that, you are aware of the basic normal procedures, followed by the basic handling of the like engine fail. Engine fail is one of the very commonly handled failure that you need to do in the simulator, which is catered for in all the cases. So that is the reason why that is always there even in the APT. So once you do that, thereafter.
Quick question, engine failure. When we have like one engine failure on Airbus A320, say, okay, or a Boeing, okay, big jets, right? They have jets on the wing, meaning there would be asymmetric thrust developed when either of the engine fails, correct? Asymmetric thrust is developed, and so does a Boeing or an Airbus also VMC? Like, do they have a VMC?
Yes, concept VMC, that is the minimum control speed.
Correct.
So minimum control speed is what? Now this is a bit into technical for the ones who are just starting.
Yeah, but anyway, so the point is we are discussing type rating. So today's episode is a bit into detail of like once you have started training for your flight training, or you're becoming a pilot, okay, or you're done with CPL, okay, or you're just starting but you want to know what is type rating. That is what today's episode is about. Okay, we cover the basics starting with pilot career area all the time, but today we thought like she has just done her IRPPC today, which is done every 1 year or 6 months for pilots. So that was the fresh topic of discussion, and that was going on our mind this week. So just thought, and welcome to Pilot Podcast, and thank you for joining us. Okay, so yeah, we are just going with the conversation. The VMC concept, yeah, she'll just explain now.
Yeah. So Shall I take a plane?
Yeah, sure.
That's okay.
Jet Airways is coming back, so I don't know whether you should use Jet Airways livery or not.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So
You wanna do Qatar? All right. Qatar doesn't have one engine. Here, the secret revealed. Okay, so
No,
we
don't
keep it
take
this
that.
way.
not like without engine installation.
So we keep it this way. So the camera only sees one engine, right? But it actually doesn't have another one.
Please.
All right, someone dropped it. It fell off. It's just a model.
Oh, it's
I
such
don't
an
know.
expensive model.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll use
It
this.
doesn't have one.
I'll
So this is gonna VMC anyway, right?
Nilay. Put it there. अरे यार कशाला काढलं ते? Because
Don't cut this.
you have to cut this.
All right, no cutting. We go live as it is almost. We might want to do one live podcast
on YouTube.
Sounds good,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. VMC getting back. So we know VMC because DA42 we did our multi-engine
multi-engine.
training. So multi-engine, one of the most challenging thing after a single engine training is the VMC, single engine, one engine in operative training, right? So like
Yeah.
heavy rudder forces required and stuff on a diamond at least. It's a yeah.
So when you're flying single engine airplane and if the engine fails, it's just you have to glide and land. You
Correct.
have no other
Correct.
engine for you, right? There is only one option that you glide and land.
Correct.
But it is challenging because you have to find a safe landing area and then go and land. But when it comes to a multi-engine airplane, the engines produce the equal amount of thrust from both the ends and that acts at the same distance from the center of gravity. And that is the reason why aircraft flies straight.
Yeah, that being the counter rotating props, right? But if those are
This is a jet engine.
yeah, this is a jet engine.
Jet engine
Correct.
doesn't
Correct.
have a critical engine.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, jet engine has the same arm from the CG. Okay. Now, what happens if one engine fails? Let's say the left engine fails. Now, so here we don't consider it as left or right. We always number it, number 1 or number 2,
Okay.
because for pilot point of view, left is this. But if someone stands here, an engineer, then for him left will be this. So to prevent any confusion, it is numbered. And whenever any left right, it is from our point of view as pilot, it is from this is number 1, this is
Okay.
number 2. If there are
Okay.
4 engines,
So this
1,
is
2,
this
3,
is the
4.
pilot seat, and there are
Yeah.
these 2 engines.
Correct.
So this will be number 1, and this will be number 2.
Correct.
And if I have 4 engines, then
1, 2, 3, 4.
okay. So outermost is 1. Then outermost on left is
One.
port board is
Yeah,
1,
yeah, yeah.
and then
2
okay.
and 3. That way. Okay.
Got it.
So if
I didn't know that. Did you?
Yes, I knew.
Okay, you knew that
Yeah,
the
1, 2, 3, 4,
outermost is
Yeah.
1. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't know that.
So if the engine number 1 fails, all right, now the engine number 2 thrust will be supplied
Correct.
and this will not be able to give thrust.
Correct.
So this will cause the aircraft to yaw to the left.
Correct.
Now to counteract and overcome this, if you let this happen, then aircraft will go in a spiral dive. You don't
Correct.
want this to
Correct.
continue, right? So there is a rudder which is used for the directional control and to overcome the asymmetric yaw. So when this rudder is moved to the right, because to overcome this left yaw, you will apply the right rudder.
Correct.
So the VMC is the minimum speed at which the rudder force
Correct.
will be able to apply the adequate yawing moment
Correct.
in order to overcome the asymmetric yaw.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is VMC. If in case speed of the aircraft is lower than VMC, then the force generated by rudder will also be less. So the amount of rudder force generated will be insufficient
To maintain.
to
There is not
overcome
sufficient.
the
Yeah.
yawing moment caused by the failure of the
there is not
engine.
sufficient airflow on the vertical
Yes,
stabilizer in order for it to
It's
have
the
any aerodynamic control.
Aerodynamic
Yeah.
control. The
Yeah.
more is the airflow,
Correct.
the more will be the
Correct. So-
effectiveness of the control
So
surface.
minimum speed at which it could counter the yaw movement of one engine being operative is VMC.
Correct. So that is
Yeah.
VMC.
Yeah.
So this is a very common failure which anyone should be able to handle in a correct way. So this needs to be done. So this is one of the failure, and then all the memory items mainly they are there. If in case there is TCAS or if there is loss of braking, etc. Okay, so
why is it so bad that usually any VMC accidents that happen, okay, like usually the most critical phase for any multi-engine aircraft to VMC is during climb right after takeoff. Okay.
But your takeoff speed must be greater than VMC.
It surely is.
It is always
It surely is,
greater.
but during the climb, if one engine fails, okay. So more is the pitch, more is the P factor, right?
That is a propeller.
The P factor. And for a critical engine, if a critical engine fails during the climb, the rudder force required is the highest when you have upward pitch, right? So why, it so happens that in case of during climb, any airliner has one engine in operative, there is no reason for that flight to go into any panic. But in general aviation, if usually during climb the engine quits, the aircraft usually lands in a bad situation.
Even here, if you don't handle it well.
Okay.
If the handling is not performed well, the aircraft can go in a bank and go in a dive.
Okay.
It's
okay.
When the incident happens, when the engine fails, it is very important, for us when we are training, it is very important to identify which engine has failed.
Immediately, yeah.
Okay, so if that decision is wrong, then definitely we won't be taking the right one.
So how does it look like? If on a climb after takeoff, one engine, say engine number 1 quits.
Yeah, so there will be a bank for sure.
Yeah. A bank and a yaw, immediate yaw. Yeah.
The thing is, it is important that in the takeoff and in the initial climb, one person must check the engine parameters at a glance. Okay, like flight path, engine parameters.
Okay.
The moment you see that there is any loss of thrust or reduction in thrust, you need to start your actions for engine fail.
Correct.
Okay, so the loss of thrust or reduction is definitely indicated on your engine display. So you need to monitor that before even the aircraft is telling you that engine has failed.
Correct.
So you need to at least be ready for the rudder application.
Correct.
The correct pitch, because now with the engine fail, and if you have the higher pitch, your speed will reduce.
Yeah.
So you need to have a different
So
pitch
you're
angle.
getting to close, your airspeed is getting closer to the VMC, right? Like basically if your pitch is higher, so you reduce the pitch, you apply the rudder.
You don't want the speed to go wash out, right?
Absolutely.
So your pitch angle needs to be reduced in case of engine failure. So how much is that? That depends on aircraft to aircraft. So that we will not get into any of the numbers and values because that is different for every aircraft. So that is about the engine fail, basically the handling. So once you are done with that Airbus procedure trainer, thereafter you go on the level D simulator. Level D is a full motion simulator, and on that there is a motion which can be frozen or the motion can be active. Okay, so motion frozen means the simulator doesn't actually move. And motion is there, that means simulator will actually move. The hydraulics, it is with so many jacks, and it is a huge facility. That's absolutely as good as a cockpit. It's just your mindset that you are not in the aircraft. Otherwise everything is the same. 95
it's a
to
cockpit.
It's a cockpit. Absolutely, it's a cockpit. There is and you have all the screens.
So in
front
our this simulator time type rating, how many hours of flying on that actual sim
So,
we get, like level D?
So on the level D, you have 9 sim sessions followed by 3 checks.
Okay.
So almost 12 sim sessions you do. Okay, 12. And that each simulator is for 4 hours. 2 hours PF, 2 hours PM. Okay. Every time, whether it is APT or this, every session is 4 hours.
Total 24 hours of
12 fours are.
Okay, 4 hours. Okay, 48
That's
hours.
2 PF and
2 PF and
Understood.
2 PM
Understood.
each. Okay. So that is how the sim session goes.
So
Okay.
9 sessions is just the like full motion sim or including the fixed base?
So the fixed base, when I did 9 sessions of fixed base and then 9 sessions of full motion. Okay. The mandatory requirement is 9 sessions of full motion sim. Okay. And 3 checks. So that is the requirement. So what happens is you will see that some TRTOs, that is type rated training organization. So those TRTOs charge less for simulator. Some TRTOs will charge more. So that is differences. They don't give these fixed base extra 8 sessions. Okay. And they just go from ground class to then fixed base APT. And there is no motion, those extra 8 sims, they don't give. They directly go on full motion. So you actually end up doing only like 9 sessions plus 3 checks. That's it.
Understood.
So that is the reason why you will find, some TRTOs in even Madrid or in Germany.
Yeah, that's why the
there are
type rating
various
costs vary
so
like
much.
starting from 10 lakh rupees all the way to 30 lakh
30 lakh
rupees, right?
Okay. So your handling and the practice will be reduced if you end up paying less. Now, what student thinks, okay, I'm getting type rating for 10, 12 lakhs, so why not go there? So they go there, but after that, whenever there is any type rated pilot vacancy by the airline, when that comes up, then airlines don't just want that type rating. Airlines have certain specific additional procedures in order to the manufacturing procedures. So the airline procedures are always more conservative compared to the manufacturer's procedures.
Okay. So basically there are manufacturer procedures. That's what after CPL, if someone goes for type rating, without having a job, goes for type rating, they get trained for the manufacturer's procedures, correct?
Yes.
The Airbus procedures or Boeing procedures, right? And then as they go for type rated vacancy, correct? Despite of that, they need to do a bridge training, which trains them for the airline
specific procedures. Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. There they again end up paying about 10 to 15 lakhs more, even though that candidate is type rated. Okay. So then once you learn that, thereafter then you join an airline. Okay. So that's the transition. So some people think, okay, I'll do it in 12 lakhs, and when I say that it does cost eventually 25 to 30 lakhs, that time they don't understand why it costs 25 to 30 lakhs. When they are actually getting the quotation from
and on the other hand, if someone after CPL goes for CPL recruitment, right?
The non-type rated
vacancy, then they get trained with the
airline procedures. So then they end up spending more.
25 to
30 lakhs.
Correct.
Yes, and as we will be going for our type rating soon after we convert our CPL, how hectic or how busy were you during your type rating?
Okay, during the type rating is a lot of chair flying that you need to do.
Okay.
So
we need a start on Flight Simulator 2020.
Yes. Like
Yeah.
soon, because
a lot of chair flying. Basically, it is apart from your handling the aircraft, there is something called as the procedures which are very important and integral part of following the SOPs. So the procedures need to be followed, and for that, since this is something like, it has to be there inbuilt in your muscle memory eventually, right? So to get that, you have to practice more. Okay. So to get those flows, to get your hands going at that right place and then doing those particular procedures. So in that case, you have to start doing PF and PM. Okay, like if, let's say now you are going for type rating, okay, you are PF, then Nilay will be PM. You do the entire procedures for the cockpit preparation. Thereafter, once that is done, thereafter then you change the seats. Okay, PF, PM. So basically, when PF for you, when you start off, is as a first officer, right? So you will be doing PF as first officer from the right seat, and keep the panel of let's say Airbus 320 in front of you, and then okay, you will do touch this button, thereafter you will do that, and then there are certain call outs that need to be given by you, then by you. So that has to be done at a particular stage, so you will have to write it down. So to reiterate that and to avoid making mistakes in the actual sim where time is limited, you can practice it. So
basically we have to start preparing before we go for a flight training,
and this needs to be really done on a daily basis with your sim partner. It is important that the entire training of type rating is done together with your sim partner. Okay, so here the motive is not to I mean, of course you are not like that, I know your nature, but the motive is not to point out at and to put the other person down, but to
it's a collective
improve
goal.
each other as a pilot. Okay,
it's a collective goal of safe conduct. Right.
So mistakes happen by anyone during the training. That is,
and the same goes with the normal flight operations as well, right?
Yes, absolutely.
The goal is a collective goal of safe conduct.
Absolutely. So whenever, if in case, even for a captain, if first officer notices something which captain doesn't notice and he has to follow, then yes, it is there. You work synergistically towards the safe conduct of the flight.
So how does your schedule look like during type rating, and what's the duration of type rating?
So if in case the entire course is compressed, in that case it can be finished even in 1.5 months.
Okay.
Actually, since you are training, it is better if you have 2 days sim, 1 day off or 2 days off, so that you get time to review your mistakes that you have done in the sim, and then correct it and improve yourself by practicing even more during those off days, and then after go for the sim. If in case there are sim sessions every day, you get so overloaded with the information because you're learning things new every other day, and this is something which you had not done before. And that is the reason why it is better if it is spread over about 2 months. And that is the ideal time rather than keeping it compressed for 1.5 months.
There's a lot of things to learn, like Airbus is a very huge plane, I would say.
Yeah, there is a lot of if you see auto flight, then it has 1,000 pages in the
1,000 pages. So how many manuals are there to study?
So manuals are quite a lot, but then the thing is, first of all, you have to start with you don't have to get overwhelmed with so many things around. So initially when you do your type rating, you will have to do the FCOM, FCTM. Okay, so now this depends again whether you are doing it for Airbus or you're doing it for Boeing. So Boeing manuals are a bit different, and I don't have much information about that.
Okay.
So then there is QRH. QRH is Quick Reference Handbook, where you have all the abnormal procedures, what you need to do if in case there is no ECAM or whatever. Okay. So thereafter then FCOM, where you have the more elaborative information about normal procedures, all the systems, then limitations, then abnormal procedures, as well as and performance. So for all these things are informed and they are present in the FCOM. And then FCTM is like how you take that particular failure or practically. Okay, like in practically when you handle the plane, it's the technique that is involved in it that is informed and that is mentioned in FCTM.
Okay, so whatever the emergency is there, a solution to that emergency basically.
So solution
or
is
the
all
procedure to
procedure is there in
rectify
FCOM. FCTM is flight crew techniques manual. Okay, how you should be handling that particular procedure. Okay, so that is a technique.
So when you go to the US for flight training, or say you go to Australia for flight training, this was main thing for cadets that can you not do type rating right after finishing your foreign CPL? Okay, so there, like you need to have Indian CPL in order to do a type rating, correct?
Yes.
So what are the prerequisites in order for anyone to do type rating, and where is type rating required? Which aircraft type rating is required? Because you don't need a type rating to fly a Cessna.
Yeah,
right?
of course. So any aircraft that you want the endorsement on your license, you require to do the type rating. Like for example, if you consider,
so there is some weight, right?
5,700 kg,
12,500 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in US the unit is pound, and here we consider it as in kgs. So whenever the weight of the aircraft is more than 5,700 kgs, then it is required. And you need then first officer and thereafter the captain endorsement. Okay, so the endorsement will be as a co-pilot when you do it for a first officer, thereafter when you get captaincy, and thereafter it is for PIC.
And that is done on a CPL. So for anyone to do type rating, CPL, Indian CPL is required first, right?
Yes. For it to type, Indian CPL is required before you go for type rating. Yeah.
Can you not endorse a type rating on a foreign CPL and then convert the CPL with the type rating on the CPL?
As of now, that rule has not come yet.
Okay.
It is like
otherwise we would have done that.
Right. Yeah.
On ATPL you can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, on ATPL it is possible because you have those hours and you have already flown there and you have that particular country's ATPL. So then you can convert directly that country's ATPL into Indian ATPL by giving the papers, and then by converting that type rating on the same expertise, whether it is a first officer or a captain.
Correct.
So basically we are waiting for our RTR, right? Yeah, so we are planning to go to Canada to like convert our FA CPL into the Canadian CPL.
Right.
So that we can like get the Indian RTRP, which is we can skip the RTR exam in India.
Correct.
And I guess the RTR exam is happening after like 6 to 7 months. Like it's in July in Chennai.
Right.
Okay, so that was the main reason we couldn't convert our FA CPL into DGCA CPL.
Correct.
But now we are going to Canada. We are converting our CPL, and soon we'll be doing our conversion flying.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we'll get our CPL soon, DGCA one.
Yeah,
Correct.
I mean, before that, we'll be getting a Canadian CPL.
Yes.
So we have the FAA CPL, then the Canadian CPL, then the Indian CPL, then the type rating.
Yes. And basically, so we like I had given an attempt back in October, the RTR attempt.
Correct.
So there are two things if you want to clear the RTR exam. So first is you need to study for it. Obviously everyone will go and study.
Correct.
And second thing, which is the most important thing, is luck. Like I think people might know about it, and I shouldn't speak much on that topic, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It is. I know. It's
So
so for converting your CPL, like you don't need to give RTR exam in India. So there are two ways to get your RTR. One is you just give the Canadian RTR exam and give part 1 of Indian RTR exam. So that is valid for 20 years. And second is you convert your foreign CPL into Canadian CPL. That is valid for 5 years. You don't need to give an Indian RTR exam once you convert your CPL into Canadian.
Okay.
Yeah, but you need Canadian CPL plus you need RTR Canadian, right?
Yes.
And because Canada is a Commonwealth country, we can choose to not give RTR exam in India for 5 years.
Yes.
And within 5 years, you have to clear part 1.
No, in part 1 is only if you have Canadian RTR license.
Okay.
So if we clear part 1 in coming 5 years, then 5 years are extended to 20 years. Okay.
Okay.
And I guess we'll live with that.
5 years?
We won't.
No. I don't think so. That
What?
the 5 years is not.
Yeah, you can. So here's the thing. Okay.
So have you read it? I'm not sure about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing. If you have Canadian RTR only and not Canadian license, okay? You have FAA license and Canadian RTR, okay? Now you have Commonwealth RTR license, on the basis of which you give part 1 in India, you get 20 years.
Okay.
Okay, correct? Simple, right? If you have Canadian license plus Canadian RTR, correct? Okay.
Canadian CPL.
Yeah.
And Canadian RTR.
Yeah, Canadian CPL and Canadian RTR, right? Now you have 5 years, okay? But when you are doing this, you also have Canadian RTR, right? So if you give part 1, you get 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so 20 years.
Yes, definitely.
And I guess we'll live with 20 years, right?
Yes.
then we'll figure out after 20 about when we are about to finish 20 years.
But they would know now that you have Canadian CPL.
So how does it matter?
So then it is only valid for 5 years.
The licenses are different, right? RTR P. Okay. Then RTR, I guess it is. So there are three types of RTRs. RTR P is there. RTR A is full. A is basically lifetime. Okay.
I have lifetime.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You can flex. Okay.
Oh my God. Really? I mean,
there is not one podcast that you don't flex something.
oh my God. Seriously?
No, rightfully so. You have all the right to flex. Okay.
I just said I am full.
Yeah, it's like, all right, you don't have it. Feel bad about it.
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to say that. Like, okay, no, you don't have it. Not like that. You were explaining the part.
Yeah.
Yes, RTR C is for 20 years, RTR P for 5 years, and RTR A for lifetime.
Yeah. So RTR, when we go to Canada now and convert FA CPL to Canadian CPL, also get the Canadian RTR, then we get what we get is RTR.
C. No, RTR P.
Yeah.
RTR P.
What we get is RTR P. Okay, and let's go over. Yeah, so when we convert FAA CPL to Canadian CPL and get Canadian RTR, okay, then as we come back to India, we can get RTR P. Okay. If someone gives part 1 and part 2 both in India, okay, like you did, you get RTR A, right? And then if you do, if we go to Canada now and not give the Canadian CPL exam, only the RTR exam in Canada, okay, come back to India, give RTR part 1, then we get RTR C.
Correct.
Right?
Which is valid for 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
RTR P is valid for 5 years.
Yes.
And after that, A for lifetime.
Yeah, and after that we do our conversion flying, and then basically we go for a type rating. Speaking of which, like, have you come across the recent vacancy for E320 by Tata Air India?
Yes, There is a vacancy for Airbus
Yes.
320 type-rated pilots by Air India. The vacancy is out now. Some of the A320 pilots have moved to the wide body. The ones who are
Okay.
on wide body, some of them have retired. So there is a vacancy, and there is a mass vacancy that has come. Some of
Is
them
it mass
have,
vacancy? How many openings are there?
Yeah, about 200, I think.
Oh,
Huh?
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
oh, okay.
That's a lot. And I have also read in the terms and condition, like if like the person who is applying, he should not be a part of Vistara or AirAsia. So he should not be the part of the Tata Airlines group.
Correct.
So they are looking for pilots, like new pilots who are not in the organization.
Correct.
Okay.
So basically,
But this is a fresher vacancy, right?
I think it's experienced pilot vacancy.
No.
It's a fresher type-rated vacancy.
Yeah, this is a
just
fresher.
type
yeah,
rated.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Fresher
So
type.
they are basically looking for new pilots. They are hiring new pilots,
Correct.
which means that the aviation is rising.
Correct.
Sure, it is.
For sure.
The only point is there is a backlog, right?
Yes.
Like 2 years there were no vacancies, and
Correct.
there are many people who completed their CPL in past 2 years, right?
Correct.
Past 2 to 3 years. So I guess the recruitment stopped in 2019, 2020, right?
2019 there was.
There were many recruitments
many
in 20,
recruitments.
I think
2019.
the start of 2020, everything stopped.
In March 2020 everything stopped, and
Yes.
and now until now there were
Yeah.
no recruitment. So in 2 years approximately, how many, even if you consider about
Around
700 to 800
1,500
pilots,
pilots.
Yes.
1500 pilots, right?
Last year Vistara had come up with type-rated 320 pilot vacancy
Correct.
for first officers, and 2021 there were maximum number of CPL holders issued.
800
You know.
something, correct?
No, so in 2008 when I got my CPL, more than 1,000 CPLs were
More than
issued
1,000?
in 1 year. Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
huge number.
It was huge number.
Yeah,
back then.
and in 2021, how many? 850 something CPLs
Yeah,
were
800 to
issued.
900.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
So when you had your CPL back in 2006, there were more than 1,000 issuances of CPL.
2008 I got CPL that
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
that
You started
year.
in 2006. Correct. Yeah.
So that year there were more than 1,000 because in
Okay.
2006 there was such a huge boom in aviation market that everyone was going for CPL, and in
Correct.
2008 everyone started getting their CPL, and then again this
The
recession hit.
Correct.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that-
there are these ups and downs, and
Yeah.
it is a
Back then, I
Continuous
guess the
thing.
aviation market wasn't this big as it is right now.
sure.
And
Yes.
it would be very competitive to get a job back then in 2008, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
for
that is
sure.
true. That's true. There were very few airlines like back then. There was Jet Airways. That was the major player in the private airline.
I mean, again,
Yeah.
like competition is there in every field. I would say the only thing that makes this career different is when you are done with your CPL, you have already spent about at least 40 to 50 lakh rupees for the
Yes.
least, right?
yes,
Yeah, that is the only thing that is different than other professions in this. In like medical, sure, yeah, even in medical studies are so expensive that after becoming a doctor you usually would have spent that much of money. But say engineering or what's architect, engineering, architect, some arts, something, or yeah, whatever.
BSc in
Yeah,
aviation.
BSc aviation. It's a big. I don't know why. Like, what's the job opportunities after that, and
nothing.
why anyone does it?
It doesn't.
Can you
really
find a
help.
good reason to do a BSc aviation?
I did not do.
You have done it, and despite of that, you would say you would not recommend doing
I mean,
it.
the job opportunities are similar to that of the person who has just cleared his or her 12th exams.
Yeah, sure.
Right, because you can work as a ground staff or
correct,
as a dispatcher or something in an airline.
Correct.
So
No, not to
as a
demotivate anyone who's already doing it. If you are doing it, if anyone is doing it, get done with it, sure. But I don't know what's the...
There is no reason that, I just did it just to keep a tag against my
Correct.
name as I'm a graduate.
Correct.
That's it.
Correct.
Okay.
I didn't want to utilize that degree for anywhere
Anything.
or for anything else.
Correct.
So it's just
Okay.
like, you
So
have done your
with
graduation.
whatever the information I had, it's just for the graduation and as a
Okay.
tagline, nothing
Correct.
else. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's
and
not
you
going
just
to help
would show up
anything.
for a paper, you would know everything, you would just write a paper and come back, right, and
so
pass
you don't
it.
have to actually study anything separately because
Right.
you've already done it for
Correct.
CPL and for ATPL, so
Correct.
it's fine.
Correct.
So that was the only reason I did BSc Aviation.
That makes sense.
And apart from that, if in case you think that there is any other job opportunity if you want in aviation, then that doesn't require you to have a particular degree as such.
Correct, such as ground
And-
staff
Yeah, such as
or
ground.
cabin crew
Correct,
or
Correct.
yeah.
Except if there is an engineering job, obviously you
AME,
will need
yeah,
to
sure.
undergo the
Yes,
entire
sure,
engineering degree.
Yeah, yeah.
Apart from that, if in case it is air traffic controller, that requires you to have the electronics and telecommunication
Degree.
engineering
Correct,
degree.
correct.
So those are very specialized expertise that you
Sure.
require in those professions. But otherwise, there is no requirement of a degree unless there is any specific airline which demands a degree from their professionals or from their employees.
Okay, so Tata Air India has come, and that's really nice, right?
And we see like few airlines like CASA and Jet Airways coming up.
Yes.
So we'll definitely see an increase in the number of vacancies for CPL
Sure.
holders. But when the vacancies would come,
Yeah, I mean, as they become operational, then
Yes.
initially they would be hiring the experienced
Correct,
pilots
correct.
because they don't want to probably add up to the overhead costs of
Yes.
training the pilots and stuff, right? So initially, surely it would be, in my opinion, I mean, in my opinion, it would be experienced pilots, and then eventually they would come up with the fresher openings.
Yes,
right?
mean,
initially
if
they
they-
are hiring experienced pilots
so
only.
if
Yeah.
they hire experienced pilot, right? So they would be hiring from existing airlines, right?
Correct.
So if they get hired, that creates vacancy of
Sure.
the like senior first officer to upgrade to a captain or
Sure.
something, which creates space for the fresh
Yeah,
CPL
because
holders, right?
overall the number of aircraft in the market
Market is
increase, so requirement for pilots increases, right?
Correct.
That does not mean that it would not like have competition. There still would be a competition,
Yes.
but yeah, definitely. I mean, the chances are increased, probability is increased.
I mean, if there's a CPL holder, he or she will get an opportunity
Sure.
at least to
Correct.
show his
Sure.
or her skills, right?
Sure.
Correct, correct.
Sure.
So at that time, they have to prove it
Yeah.
and get the job.
Yeah.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
And honestly, when we speak about the competition, okay, if someone really wants to become a pilot and has done CPL successfully, and because doing a CPL is not easy, first of all,
Yes.
right? So once you get the CPL, right? Now, at this point, okay, say first vacancy comes, someone is not too well prepared for the vacancy and not well prepared or the vacancy, and maybe is not able to get through, right? But then that failure teaches them, and they're like, all right, this is what was asked, I would improve myself on these areas, and the next vacancy that comes, that person will be stronger, right?
Yes.
And as there are most airlines that start recruiting, once most airlines start recruiting, yeah, they will get through for sure.
And
Right.
basically, while preparing for these interviews, if it's taking too long for the vacancies to show up, they can start working related to this
Yeah,
field,
sure.
right? They should not completely quit, or they should not give up on this.
Yeah.
They should
Correct.
stick to aviation,
Yeah,
Correct.
and one
Yeah.
day will come that they will be flying
sure.
Correct.
Sure.
the plane.
True.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's very important to be persistent to enhance your knowledge, skills, and yes, not for it is not last, but the most important thing to have a good attitude.
Yes.
So if you work on these, then you will definitely be a better pilot.
For sure. Yeah, sure. So knowledge, skills, attitude, experience, all of these things play a significant role for sure. Yep. Speaking of knowledge, if you are an aspiring pilot, sign up for CNTAA online, right? You know the drill. And yeah, it was great having you. Apart from that, tell us something. Any questions that you might have, comment down, okay? And we'll discuss those in the next episode. And yeah, see you. Thank you for joining.
And if you did not understand any of the terms we spoke in this podcast, feel free to comment down below, and we'll explain it to you in the comments, because today we spoke about few technical terms.
Yeah, we did kind of dive detailed into certain things. The matter of the fact, don't be overwhelmed with the information. If you are a CNTAA student, you would know the technical terms for sure. Okay, and if you are just new to the aviation, don't worry. You don't have to be overwhelmed with the information overload. It all comes step by step, right? Climb one step at a time. Next step, whatever the next step is there in front of you. If it is flying, if it is a particular check ride, focus on that. After that, off to the next one. If it is medical, focus on the medicals right now. Okay. If it is DGCA exams, focus on that. Whichever that is the next step, focus on that. Once you're done with that, immediately jump to the next goal, and yeah, keep on accomplishing one by one, and then eventually is the way to the cockpit. That's all.
Awesome. So it's very important to be consistent and persistent, and you must improve your knowledge, skills, and attitude. It's very important that you work on these three every passing day in order to become a better pilot, better aviator. Wish you all the best. We are there to guide you all throughout.
Yep. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Any questions? Down in the description. It gives us idea what to discuss next for the podcast. And yeah, we're trying to get someone as a guest on this podcast. Let's see, as she has really usually, I mean, her schedule is really tight, and then for someone else who has a flying schedule, the timings are not usually matched. That's why it's difficult to get someone on the podcast right now. Matter of the fact, it is 11:30 in the night while we are shooting this. Who in the world, in the right mind, would want to join for a podcast at 11:30 to discuss, right?
True.
All right, but it is pilot podcast, so someone should join, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Right. All right. Thank you for having us, and
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, like, share, subscribe, and if you are an aspiring pilot, once again sign up for CNTAAonline.in. Okay, India's #1 online on-demand pilot ground classes for DGCA exams. Also, Capt.Neha mentors you for your steps into your pilot career. Okay, so good luck and thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Space, like the other fun.